Hello all and welcome. My name is Paula Damangella and I am your event moderator today. I work for the Harvard Graduate School of Education and I am also a CCW volunteer and executive committee member. And so we'd love to have you introduce yourselves in the chat, maybe include where you're joining us from and, share out your Harvard acronym. And yeah, again, just so happy to welcome you all here today, especially in these challenging times when it seems more critical than ever to beat imposter syndrome. So a few items to go over. This event is being recorded and there will be breakout rooms at a later point. And these are our CCW engagement guidelines. We ask that you be professional, courteous, respect your peers, give folks a moment to peruse them. If you have any questions, pop them in the chat. You can add any question to the chat at any time. All right, so before I introduce Tatyana, our speaker, I wanted to share what the CCW is at Harvard. So the Committee on the Concerns of Women at Harvard is a university-wide employee resource group. It is open to all faculty and staff. We are the oldest of 5 of the employee resource groups at Harvard. We got our start in 1977 at Radcliffe College. We support the interests of all people of all genders, host events, provide training, and share information to that end. We also focus on the challenges facing women, challenges of gender inclusivity and diversity, more prescient than ever, including topics such as leadership representation, work-life balance, career growth, and opportunities. Currently, we have over 3,000 members who we count through our robust email list, and we are recruiting new members, so please join our ranks by subscribing to our newsletter. Or you can go to our website for more information. We'll have executive committee memberships opening at a later point, so keep an eye out for that. But really, we'd love to have you join us in any capacity. Now, I would like to introduce our event speaker, Tatyana Gao. After a terrible accident in 1998 that left Tatyana with a broken back and an inability to sit for over half a year as a freshman, which had followed other unprecedented life-altering events, including the dissolution of her country, her family, poverty, famine, and depression, Tatyana needed to relearn routine daily activities to take charge of her future and become the conscious leader of her life. The precious nature of life was put in perspective. As the founder of Monada Coaching and Consulting, John Maxwell Leadership Certified Team Speaker, Trainer, Coach, and Disc Consultant, author of her Conscious Leadership Method, Tatyana is passionate about the importance of educating, empowering, and transforming leaders, professionals, teams, and organizations around the world to create thriving lives, communities, and companies. Tatyana, please take it away.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Paula, for the introduction. I am thrilled to be here with you today. And let me quickly share my slides. All right. Welcome to Beating Imposter Syndrome Keynote Workshop. Again, my name is Tatyana Gao, and thanks for the introduction. And today we are going to discuss and explore imposter syndrome, look at the case study, and we're going to do some self-reflection and practice coaching in pairs as well. So we're going to do some breakout rooms, and I do hope that you will all come back to practice really effective tools and techniques that we are going to do right after the breakout rooms. So please do stay with us. And I believe that you received the workbook that I shared with all the participants, and I'm going to ask CCW team to please share it in the chat right now so you have access. All right. Well, how many of you, raise your hand, please, and use the raise your hand function. How many of you have felt like you're not good enough, you don't belong, no matter how hard you work, you're just like not achieving the level of success that you wish you had, right? Yes, I see a lot of hands, and thank you so much for sharing. So I really like the framework that Dr. Valerie Young shared. Those of us with the imposter syndrome, feelings have become adept at essentially attributing our success largely to factors outside ourselves, right? And so as a result, there is this kind of nagging fear of eventually being found out. Okay, 1 second. Okay, what is imposter syndrome? This term was coined by Susanna Imes and Pauline Rose Clance in their article, The Imposter Phenomenon in High Achieving Women in 1978. And from there on, it was sort of like gained a larger research of other populations as well. And so right now, the statistics show that about 82% of people worldwide suffer from the imposter syndrome. However, it's not a diagnosable mental illness, but it is a phenomenon that so many people experience in their lives. It manifests as this internal psychological experience of feeling like a phony or not belonging. No matter how hard you work, you're just not good enough to succeed or realize your full potential. And it manifests in the fears of constant self-doubt, fears, feeling of being stuck, and then of course, as anxiety, restlessness, and lack of motivation, and at times feeling stuck and procrastinating, right? So not moving forward with our true desires. People who experience imposter syndrome oftentimes downplay their successes because they attribute it to the factors outside of themselves. Like, for example, if somebody helped them achieve something, they would say, oh, but I didn't do that, you helped me. And then over preparing for projects, really, kind of exhibiting the signs of perfectionism, rarely celebrating themselves and feeling like, like a phony, like you would be found out if people knew that whatever you were dealing with. Usually people avoid challenges and have low performance expectations of themselves, or on the other side, they could have really high expectations of themselves. And that's why they kind of like set themselves up for failure in that way, because it's unrealistic. They agonize over the smallest mistakes, and it's really hard to take any criticism from other people because it is just like hard to do that. And so Dr. Valerie Young identified 5 types of imposter syndrome, and among them are the perfectionist, the expert, the natural genius, the soloist, and the superperson. So the perfectionist is the one who sets really high standards for themselves. They have to have everything perfect. And at times their unrealistic expectations play sort of like tricks with them, because they can't really achieve the huge goals that they set for themselves. And then this disappointment from not achieving that kind of like brings them into feeling like a phony, like they're not good enough. The experts are people who are truly really knowledgeable in their field, but for whatever reason, they feel like there is so much more to learn in that field that they at times feel stuck to, take the opportunity because they feel like, well, I'm not good enough of an expert. And I've seen this many times among my coaching clients with who have the PhDs and are really amazing professionals, and they still feel like, oh, like I'm not good enough, I need to study more. The natural genius type really manifests in the way that when a person feels like, well, I wasn't really born with this talent, so there is not much I can do. It kind of correlates with the fixed mindset thinking, right? So, and usually if things don't come easily to them, they understand they have to work at it to achieve something. That's when they start giving up and feeling stuck and procrastinating. Now, the soloist is the type where an individual would feel like they have to do everything themselves. It's hard for them to ask for any support or help from other people, or even delegate. Like if you're a leader, you could do that in that way as well. And so for soloists, like if somebody truly helped them achieve something, then they would actually attribute their success to that person instead of to themselves, and still feel like a phony. And the super person is the type of the imposter syndrome where a person truly feels like you have to be the hardest worker in the room in order to achieve anything. And if you don't achieve something, that you're a complete fraud. So are any of these types starting to resonate with whatever you may be experiencing? So feel free to comment in chat or raise your hand or something like that. And let's look at some examples and think of someone who maybe does this. Potentially a leader avoiding conflict and not speaking up or addressing important issues with the team. So what kind of, like if we were to look at the imposter syndrome types, like what type would that be? That could potentially be an expert, right? Maybe they feel like, it's a little hard for them to, because they are not truly feeling like they are the expert in the room, or they could be the soloist. The professional not applying for promotion because they think they're not good enough. And usually this type hits women the most, according to the research. Another example is business owner procrastinating and not reaching out to their potential clients or prospects out of fear of maybe they don't have everything perfect. They haven't figured everything out. And then, let me move this. Avoiding public speaking out of fear of being seen and judged. Now, this is also a common imposter syndrome type situation. So I hope by now you're starting to sort of like get an idea of what we're looking at. And now I invite you to do a little case study with me. And for this, I invite you to research yourself a little bit. So the first question I'm going to ask you, where in your life do you feel the imposter feelings? And for this, we're going to do a little reflection exercise. You also have it in your workbook, but I'm going to put the slides right here for you with all the 6 questions. So basically, the imposter syndrome self-evaluation checklist is the tool that you can use for yourself to reflect on where in your life do you feel like an imposter? How does that show up? And then we'll take it further. Okay, so the first question, how would you rate your situation on a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 is miserable and 10 is feeling completely free and happy? And then the second is like, which situation do you experience imposter syndrome? In which situations that happens? Number 3, what emotions and feelings were you experiencing when the syndrome was taking effect? Now, that's really important to acknowledge to yourself. What thoughts were you thinking at that time? How would you normally respond in those situations? And the last one is, what type of imposter syndrome do you think you may be experiencing? So let's have about 3 to 5 minutes to give you the opportunity to answer these questions. Feel free to take a piece of paper and write down the answers, or simply type it up in the PDF, whichever you prefer. And this exercise is truly only for your eyes. So be as honest as possible with yourself, because in the long run, it is going to help you create clarity of where you are stuck and what can be done to move forward. Okay? And if you have any questions, please feel free to either raise your hand or drop it in chat. So take about 3 to 5 minutes. And while you're doing this, I'm going to tell you a little story. Now, for the longest time in my life, I experienced the fear of being seen and the fear of public presentations ever since I was a kid. And I attended the musical school. I played the piano. My mom actually had to go with me to every single performance and every single exam to hold my hand, because I was terrified and my whole body would just kind of like go into like a shock mode. And then later on, when I already immigrated to the United States and I started dancing semi-professionally West Coast swing dance, right around the time when I joined Harvard University, I made it to the all-star level. The next level is champions. So I wasn't a beginner, and still, when it was time to do the spotlight with my partner, my entire body would go into this like frozen mode zone. And I realized that I had to work through some internal issues that I had to look at what was causing it, so that I then could release it and free myself from that fear. Well, it definitely worked. So I hope that what I'm sharing with you today will give you some tools that you can start using throughout the day for you to ease the imposter feelings. But at times it definitely takes more time to dive deeper into what could be causing the fears and negative thinking patterns. All right. Do we have any questions? Let's see. Wonderful. Thank you everyone so much for commenting on the type of imposter syndrome you think you're experiencing. That's true. You can actually experience more than just one imposter syndrome, and it could be a combination of different things for sure. Absolutely. Thank you, everyone. Now, when you get closer to being done with the exercise, please raise your hand so I can see how many of us are ready to move forward. Wonderful. We have super efficient people in the room. Great. All right, a couple more minutes. And for the sake of time, I just wanted to let you know that if we move forward and you haven't had a chance to finish your exercise, please don't worry, because you will have the workbook available to you as well after that, and you will be able to see the recording. And you will have the opportunity to come back to this exercise and do it in more detail and at a slower pace. Okay. It looks like we have some people finishing up. Okay. It's really important to understand, recognize the situation that was causing the distress, and then understand how we were feeling at that moment, sort of like to analyze our feelings and not what we were thinking, because that truly matters. And the exercises we're going to do to help us shift the negative self-talk in order for us to start building confidence. All right, one more minute. Yeah, thank you. Ariel had a great discussion point in chat that she recently read or saw something that was saying those parents that crush it are those that can accept non-perfection across the board versus trying to be an expert at home and as a parent. Absolutely. I think it's about the flexibility, because when we have a fixed mindset, it truly is hard to be flexible and to adjust to the changing situations. Absolutely. All right. I think we are going to move forward, and I hope that's all right with everyone. And we're going to build on what we just did, and we're going to experience some coaching. And I invite you to join a breakout room where in groups of 3, we're going to do some coaching through openness and vulnerability. And what this means is that I invite you to create a brave space, first of all. Please don't share any personal information. And because we are all in the same academic space, I invite you to just keep it, you don't have to share the names or anything like that. Just maybe the situation, and be kind and open. When you are in the role of being a coach, try to listen authentically without an agenda or thinking about what you're going to say next to the person you're listening to. Try to hold the space for them, and you are going to be asking the questions on the self-evaluation checklist, and listen carefully. Everyone is going to have 3 minutes, so it's going to take about 9 minutes in the breakout rooms. And when we come back, we are going to go over all the exercises and practice doing them together. So make sure that you don't miss that part. And these are the questions that are also in your workbook, in the exercise that you just did. Oops, hang on. So Paula, do you think we are ready to send people to the breakout rooms?
I think so, yeah. So
Wonderful.
you will all be sent to breakout rooms. If anybody has any issues, we're here to help. If anybody has any questions or anything, feel free to just direct message us in the chat. We are here to support you. But yeah, you should get a prompt that comes up and says, send to breakout rooms.
Look at how, thank you. Now let's look at how we can beat imposter syndrome. I really love this quote by Lao Tzu. Watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. And then watch your character, for it becomes your destiny. Truly amazing. So where do we start? The majority of issues come from the fact that most people don't know themselves well. And how do we truly know who we are and what we want, right? It's definitely a process. And we can start getting to know ourselves by spending time with ourselves, learning our strengths, weaknesses, likes, dislikes, boundaries, triggers, what we love, what we want to do a daily self-reflection or journaling. And of course, knowing what we don't want truly helps us to understand what we do want. Personality assessments are a great tool that you can use to help you understand your strengths and weaknesses, your motivators, your passions, and etc. Definitely professional development workshops is a great tool as well. And then you can always work with a professional like coach or psychologist to help you create clarity and direction for your life going forward. Now, the second point is shifting the mindset, because it's all connected to how we see ourselves and the world. Charles Swindoll, when I heard his quote like years ago when I was teaching leadership at Dartmouth College Rockefeller Center, and it kind of blew my mind. So life is 10% what happens to us and 90% how we react to it. Now, isn't that incredible? We have 90% of power and we forget about that. So how can we actually come back to remember? Really great framework by Dr. Karen Susan Dweck, and I'm pretty sure that everyone knows it at Harvard. And if not, please check out her book. So it's growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. Let's look at it a little bit closer. So fixed or limiting mindset, it's where the person feels like, well, I was born this way and there is nothing I can do about this, right? Intelligence is static. We're really don't like criticism. Successes of other people really threaten us, and we avoid any challenges because they feel, oh, we're going to fail. That's it. And at times it brings us to the desire of looking smart, and we see our efforts as being fruitless, right? So a person who lives in this type of mindset usually plateaus early and doesn't really fulfill their full potential in life. If we look at the growth mindset, and it is a switch that can be flipped, right? From thinking like, oh, there's nothing I can do. Well, but what if I try? And here we start understanding that intelligence can be developed. I can develop the skill. I can become better at, writing or presenting. That's where we want to grow and learn. And we take, feedback and criticism with an open mind, because we know that it's going to help us improve. And of course, we get inspired by the successes of other people. And, setbacks don't feel like failure, even though sometimes it could look like that. But we understand that they are for us to grow. And now let's look at the next level mindset, the conscious leader mindset, based on the conscious leadership method that I've been developing for over 2 years now. This is where we take it a notch further, and we look at life as evolution and growth over a lifetime. And this leads us to the desire to thrive, right? To create. And we take a really conscious approach to life. Mindfulness included in that, of course, where we start taking full responsibility for our life and all the conscious choices of lifestyle, career, business, family choices that we make. Of course, setbacks at that time look like stepping stones to success. And the heart is filled with gratitude, empathy, authenticity for pretty much anything that happens, because we're understanding that this is for us to grow and learn. And this is where we start to collaborate and co-create with other people, right? And definitely helps to achieve a greater sense of fulfillment and freedom to be oneself, because we know who we are and we know what we want, and we are unstoppable and getting there. So I put together this slide sort of to help myself and my clients and all the attendees of the workshops to look at how this manifests in different situations. So for example, fixed mindset could sound like, well, I'm not good at sports. That's it. A growth mindset could say, well, I'm maybe not good at sports, but if I try and, take dance class 3 times a week, by the end of the year, I'm going to learn a dance. And then a conscious leader mindset would say, well, I already see myself on the stage as an amazing dancer, and I will put the work into it to make sure that this happens. Now, another example about the feedback. Now, I really like this one. A fixed mindset says, this feedback is wrong, and the person doesn't know what they're talking about. I used to think like that as a student. Does that resonate with anyone? And then the growth mindset is, this feedback is really helpful and it can help me improve and grow. And then finally, conscious leader mindset. Every negative situation there is there for me to learn and grow. I listen with the open heart and mind. I learn and it becomes my power. So have you started thinking about what your mindset could be? And so when it comes to shifting your mindset from victim mentality, where life happens to you, to growth mentality, where life happens for you, to the conscious leader mentality, where you are the ultimate creator and leader of your life. And this change can occur when we change our outlook. First of all, taking radical responsibility for the person you have been up until this moment, raising the standard of how you show up as a person and the leader in your family, community, work, business. And, create and embody a layer of professionalism in everything that you do. Respect and kindness towards yourself and others is a must. And please don't compare yourself to others, because we are so unique. And when it looks like somebody else's life or career looks better, that's because they're very different. We're all unique. Focus on you, because being yourself is the best thing you can do for the world. Now, the second point is changing negative self-talk to empower yourself from I'm not good enough, I can't do this, I'm not worthy, nobody loves me, to wait a minute, I'm worthy, I'm enough, I'm capable, I'm loved. And so let's do an exercise together. This one is more of a thinking exercise. You can do this exercise anytime when you feel like the feeling of imposter syndrome is taking over. Anytime when you don't feel good emotionally, or you feel the heaviness in your body, or something is bothering you, but you're not sure, ask yourself this question. What am I thinking to myself right now? Okay? Because we don't really talk to ourselves like we do to other people. Our internal dialogue is how we communicate to ourselves. So truly, what am I saying to myself right now? Right? And then the first step is truly learn to listen to that thought. Because usually if it's a negative thought, it's going to create a negative emotion. If it's a positive thought, it's going to create a positive emotion. And then the second step is actually changing the negative statement to a positive statement and noticing how gradually your state is going to improve. So saying, if you, for example, heard, well, this is not going to work, like I'm probably not good enough for them. Why would they hire me? Yeah. To wait a minute, I'm amazing. Like I have done so much work. I am worthy of having a great career. I can do this. And then immediately notice how that shifts your internal state. Now, repetition is key to creating a new subconscious program because it helps to create the neuron connections in your brain. So this is definitely something that you would need to practice over time. And this exercise is also in the workbook, so you can always print it out and have it available to you and always come back to that when needed. And now let's have some fun. Exercise 4 is about the humor technique to help us reframe fearful and negative statements. All right, so in psychology, there is this reframing technique and concept where you change the statement from a negative to a positive, right? And we're going to use humor to do that. If then. So if I don't get that promotion at work, then I will become a drama queen. If I don't get this project, then I will turn into a sad sushi roll. If I don't get that partnership, then I will. Now I invite you to shout out the answers. For example, if I don't get that promotion at work, then feel free to unmute yourself or share in comments as well. Who wants to try?
I will turn into a blueberry.
I will turn into a blueberry. I love it. Okay. If I don't get this project, then I will. Anybody else
For
wants
my
to try?
job and become an NFL quarterback.
Amazing. I love it. Okay. Megan, feel free to unmute.
If I don't get that position, I'll just go buy myself lunch, an expensive one.
Fantastic. I love it. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, so you see how you can actually start changing the way you look at the situation, and humor is truly a powerful technique to shift your mindset and shift your internal state. All right, practice, practice, practice. And now let's look at the emotional intelligence, because let's face it, the more we know ourselves and develop self-awareness, the more powerful we become. Self-awareness, self-management, building relationships, and social awareness are based on the Daniel Goleman's framework. And it's important to understand that we need to learn to manage our negative emotions and develop emotional intelligence. Oftentimes we were taught that emotions, especially negative emotions, are not good. They're negative, like don't cry, don't be angry. We were taught from early on. But truly, negative emotions are the GPS, and positive too. Our internal GPS system that tells us, wait, this person is making me angry. He's probably showing me that there is some kind of an internal boundary I wasn't even aware I had. So maybe I should thank them. Then learning to process your emotions by sitting with yourself, by listening to how you feel at that moment. And sometimes it takes some, you might need to take a cup of tea, go for a walk, or sit on the couch with a blanket to release that. And definitely mindfulness practices are key to helping you to do that as well. Now, when we are experiencing fears and triggers, that's another opportunity for us to step into our power. And what do I mean by that? There is what I call a power pause. It's the pause between the stimulus and the response. And we get to choose to expand this pause before we decide to respond to the person. So if we feel triggered by whatever the person said, if you can take a moment to excuse yourself from the situation, from the meeting, for example, go take some deep breaths, like whether it is like by going for a walk or going to the restroom, recentering yourself, and then asking yourself a question: what just happened? Why did they react this way? Was that person truly negative towards me, or did I react because there was something in me that was reacting? And then if there was truly something like a boundary that was broken, that's when you can come back and communicate clearly, simply, respectfully, and directly by saying, you know what, this is not working for me. Can we look at it? Can we do something differently? And I invite you to do a release breathing exercise with me. And this one you can use anytime when you feel overwhelmed with any negative emotions, or just in general feeling like you lack direction or feeling stuck. So if you can please, I know some people were walking, but you might need to take a seat for that. When you're sitting down with your feet on the floor and your back resting comfortably against the chair. Now, gently take a slow breath in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. And now think of the situation that has been bothering you and causing you pain or unpleasant feelings. And you can close your eyes, by the way, too. And now, as you're thinking of the situation, bring it to the forefront of your attention with your eyes closed. Now notice the emotion. Feel the emotion, however uncomfortable it is. Now, fear is the most uncomfortable emotion that we usually experience, but it is about sitting with yourself in it to release it. That will help you feel better. Now take a slow breath in and breathe out through your mouth. Notice where this emotion is showing up in your body. Where are you feeling the tightness? Or maybe it's pain, or maybe it's discomfort. Is it in your shoulders, in your head, in your stomach, in your legs? And now we're going to breathe deeply for about 5 to 10 times. Okay, so take a slow breath in. Hold for 1, 2, 3, 4. And slowly breathe out through your mouth. Another slow breath in. Hold for 1, 2, 3, 4. And breathe out. Another breath in. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4. And breathe out. One more breath in. Hold for 1, 2, 3, 4. And breathe out. And let's do one last one. Breathe in. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4. And breathe out. Now notice the sensations in your body. Your body is probably feeling lighter and your mind is a little bit more calm. Now, if you're feeling the emotion, if you feel the tears coming to your eyes, that's wonderful. Allow for it to release. Allow for the energy of the emotion to go all the way up through your body and leave your body. And then when you do this exercise next time, that's when you can ask, what happened here? Was there any boundary broken for me? And if there was, how can I communicate it simply, respectfully, and directly? And where do I feel out of power? And how can I get it back? And just to quickly summarize, learn to develop emotional intelligence through the daily mindfulness practice. Celebrate yourself more often. Even the small wins, they're really important. Work on learning to reframe your negative self-talk. And another really important aspect we haven't talked about today that goes deeper into your subconscious is identifying and releasing limiting beliefs and fears. Walks in nature. Anything in nature makes us feel more calm, grounded. Of course, journaling, spending time with friends and pets, and working with a professional who can help you to create the clarity and the direction. So, knowing yourself, your ability to self-regulate emotional intelligence and communicate effectively, the social skills are keys to overcoming imposter syndrome and building confidence. So, what will you do today to become the conscious creator and leader of your life? Thank you all so much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Tatyana. That was so wonderful. So wonderful. So we probably are not going to have time for questions, but if you can pop them in the chat right now, that would be great. And I just want to invite everybody to continue the conversation with us, sign up for our newsletter. Please take the post-event survey. That's where you can share questions with Tatyana. And I'm going to check with Tatyana. Maybe we can share the slides out. Somebody question. So again, thank you so much. And I mean, we have 2 minutes, so I am happy to hand it back if folks want to stick around.
Thank you everyone for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed it, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I appreciate your time.